entrepreneur, creative designer, brand strategist. His work is influenced by 90s pop culture. He's an I Choose Albuquerque partner. This is Ryan Kellogg. So Kellogg, or Ryan, I guess we'll start proper. I think everyone calls you Kellogg anyway.
Yes.
Kellogg Projects. But how did you get into art growing up? Were you doodling in class and never paying attention, or did it just something that came completely naturally?
Yeah, that was it, actually. I grew up drawing from a very young age, and obviously I grew up with cartoons like everybody else. And when I was like 8 to 10 years old, I started skateboarding and playing sports and like getting into, being like my own consumer. And I started realizing that everybody kind of likes different brands for different reasons, and things resonate with different people for different reasons. And I just found that really interesting. So I started kind of paying attention to that and seeing what different people liked and why. And that's really where it started. Met a group of guys in college that really helped me out as far as like the branding side of that. But yeah, really it was just drawing young, and then starting to pay attention to the market pretty young, just because I was interested in it. I was interested in what resonates with people. So
when did you kind of realize that this could be like a career for you?
College. I was always told that, art doesn't make money. You can't make good money with art or design or, being creative. But, that was a pretty normal mindset back then. Our parents going to college, and it worked out for them. But 30 years ago, the market was much different. So I kind of just stuck with it. And in college, I had some really good friends. My friend Chris, shout out Chris Humbard, he worked for Red Bull. He was actually the university rep, and we started working with them. We started working with some other businesses in town. We started our own United We Rage, and I was lucky enough to be like the art director or whatever for that. So I kind of started putting designs out there, and I got good feedback. So I kind of realized that I could hone in on the skill and develop and bring something to the table, especially in Albuquerque.
Was that the first quote unquote like big project you worked on, or big design project you worked on, or was there stuff before that kind of led to that?
Yeah, I did some like tattoo designs in high school that actually are on people's skin now, which is kind of amazing. But just considering how far I've come, I mean, back then I was just kind of doodling, not paying attention in class, like you said.
Yeah.
I would say that was the first time that it got serious, and I started seeing some potential as far as like commercial work. A lot of people frown at that too. Like artists will frown at commercial work because you're putting dollar signs on your work, but at some point you have to do that if you want to survive anyway.
Right, and sustain.
Yeah. So when you started college, did you go to college for art?
No. No, actually, I started college in a bio program. Actually, rewind, the semester before my senior year, I went to New Mexico Tech for the summer, and I studied civil engineering because my dad's an engineer. And I didn't like it. I liked the design portion of that, but I don't know, I couldn't see myself doing it forever, even though I enjoyed the summer. Then I came back, finished my senior year, went to UNM. And I've actually been through 6 different programs in 3 different schools. That's what I always say. But I started in bio, went to business management, changed to communications, went to the digital media program. I was just kind of dabbling everywhere because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then the United We Rage thing came along, and then we started kind of like breaking off into our own spin-off companies, if you will. And I did that too, obviously, with Kellogg Projects. So yeah, that's kind of, that's where it started.
Do you think you have a niche that you fall in terms of, like, because you do brand development, logo development, obviously your side stuff that you do for fun, artistry. Do you have something that, really drives your passion, or is all of that in one your passion?
Yeah, I would say my passion is brand identity and strategy. And then I like to start there, and then I add assets as we go along, because every brand's different. So I feel like approaching it from a creative strategy standpoint is the best way to start, because a lot of people think, they need a new logo or we need a t-shirt, and the truth is that sometimes people really don't know what they need.
Yeah.
But sifting through that is the best way to start, so that people aren't wasting money and you're making the right decisions and choices along the way. Just getting bang for your buck and filling the gaps in your business. That's kind of where I like to start. So, but I do, I specialize in different stuff that I enjoy. I really like cartoons. I just always have. It's funny too, we live in this like really weird time where nostalgia plays super hard. Everyone's hanging on to humanity for dear life.
Yeah, for sure.
As we like move into a technological era. But I don't know, I like to kind of simplify that stuff and bring it to the forefront and allow people to kind of escape while they're looking at my work.
Yeah, I would say when I look at your stuff, it's always like a cool reminder of like some of the cartoons of my past, like when I was a kid, but also with your like touch to it. And I think that's why as soon as I saw your work, I was like, this is some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen, because you take things from like, Nintendo, from Rugrats, from all kinds of cool stuff, and kind of mesh it into like a modern interpretation of them.
Absolutely.
I really like it.
So I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
In Albuquerque, I think there's like a lack there of like streetwear or like that type of, design and stuff.
Sure.
Do you find a need to like fill that void, or not really?
Yeah, I do. I really enjoy that stuff anyway. And although I like big city style, I feel like there's a huge gap between that like streetwear, big city style, and New Mexico, because we definitely have our own vibe. And I like bringing the streetwear style to a Southwest vibe. So I try to play that in as much as I can when I'm staying true to myself, staying true to my style, where I'm from, Albuquerque, obviously. But yeah, I think that there's a little bit of a gap in how well it's done too, because plenty of people like it. I can tell by the feedback that people like it, but it's just doing it correctly is kind of what I'm honing in on. Yeah,
and we talk about the standard. It's not. We're not doing it for an Albuquerque standard. You're not doing your art for an Albuquerque standard. You do it because it can be good anywhere and everywhere.
Right.
So why did you stay in Albuquerque and like want to hone your craft here when you could have left, gone to a big market, joined a big firm, made a lot of money doing what you're doing, but you chose or are still choosing to stay here and do what you do here?
Yeah, I get that question quite a bit, and I'm really fortunate to have a job that can be remote. So I do work out of town a lot. Kind of hotspots are like Phoenix, LA. I work a little bit in Atlanta, and I also work for Red Bull in Nashville, and I work for a firm in Dallas too. So it's not like I'm here all the time as far as work goes, but I like being able to present my skill set to this market specifically, because you can go to other cities and do well. Like obviously they're running economic, growth everywhere, and I don't know. I think that there's a lot more potential here, and I also enjoy the culture much more here, and I feel like there's a lot of room to grow as far as creativity and just overall market.
And you get to like make your own rules, right? You get to contract yourself out to bigger firms, but yet get to stay true to yourself and work your own hours, work when you want, how you want.
Absolutely.
Like that freedom is huge, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's that whole thing, like, you could go to a more successful economy and make more money. I feel like that's a duh. Like, that's like, obviously.
Right.
But that's not what I want to do. I almost feel like, not to bash anyone who did that, I'm just saying that's almost cheating. Like, it's make the city you're from better instead of going to somewhere where it's already doing better.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's my viewpoint on that.
Yeah. Not everybody's going to want to take on that challenge.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's daunting. But I see a lot of potential in people like you guys as well. I love this project, and the conversation just has to be started. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, everybody has to just be on board. It's going to be a whole mindset shift, but I say that very reluctantly because it has to be done correctly. We can't just make New Mexico different, because what it is now is very important to the people who live here.
Right.
So every decision we make has to be extremely well thought out. It has to include that thought that's like, okay, well, what do natives in this city actually want out of, you know, the culture and the market, the foods they eat, the clothing they wear. Like, it has to stay sound.
Yeah, it's like we got to find a good balance between having you know, progressive change in our city, but also respecting who we are and where we came from along the way.
Agreed.
It's kind of where I feel with it is, I think I've said it before, is I don't really want Albuquerque to change. I just want Albuquerque to see and realize its full potential as what it is and own who it is. And
I
the
agree.
People own it.
I agree.
You know, so you know, it's been an honor to be able to have all these people come together to work on this project. If you all haven't figured it out already, Kellogg is actually the person who did all of the graphics and design and come up with all the branding for the I Choose Albuquerque project. So maybe tell us a little bit about what made you decide to be part of this, and to kind of really, you know, donate your time along with the rest of us to make this happen.
Sure. Yeah, I'm first of all a native. So I grew up here. I was born here, went to college here, and I've watched Albuquerque for a long time. And we are making massive strides right now, but I feel like that can really be pushed along. There's far more potential. I see the potential in creativity in this city, because there's all this untapped potential within people who are like, you know, I really want to do this. I want to open up this business. I want to start selling this. I feel like there's a lot of that, and a lot of it has to be like nudged a little bit.
Yeah.
So I feel like I can set an example through my work, through projects like this, to kind of push that along, not necessarily faster than it should go, but faster than it's going.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I said, it has to be done correctly, and I know that, and I pay attention to that, because decisions have to be made well so that people can connect with this. That's the thing about the Albuquerque community. They wrap around stuff as long as it's done well.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it's been proven multiple times. I think one of the most recent examples of that would be New Mexico United.
Yes.
You know, everything about the team, about the branding, about the, you know, the approach, all of it was done at such a high level that it would have succeeded anywhere, right?
Agreed. Yes.
But it's also proving that Albuquerque has wanted something to get behind for a very, very long time, beyond like Lobo basketball or whatever it is.
You
know, like
can see it.
Right. They've wanted something that they could latch on to and be proud of. And I think New Mexico United is, like, honestly one of the newest emerging brands out there to actually, you know, pull that off.
I agree.
And I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned around that, is that we can create movements in this city by honestly just treating ourselves like we are, you know, a bigger market.
I agree.
And worthy of it. So I think they kind of correlate with you, because they've kind of set that bar and set that standard. And sure, they might have more financial backing and all that stuff, but you're setting that standard and that bar in terms of your design and logos and brand that you work with.
Right.
Maybe obviously on a much stricter budget. But
Yeah.
I mean, can you tell us a little bit about some of the different companies you work with locally and how you got in the door with them, or those
Sure.
conversations?
Yeah.
And I think my favorite is probably Pokey, the new design at Pokey.
Yeah,
Pokey
that's a pretty sweet one.
Yeah. Robert owns Pokey Pokey. He's a great guy, Robert Puna, and he's actually all over Albuquerque. He's constantly opening up new stuff, having new ideas. Yeah, he's a great guy, and he actually stimulates a lot out of me too, because he knows what he needs and wants, and he's already setting this vibe that I can kind of catch on to and start designing for. But yeah, I've done a lot of work around town. Some of it's exciting, some of it's not. But I mean, to the people, it's all exciting to me, and I treat every project with the same care. But yeah, it's it's a lot of fun to work with business owners here too, because I feel like everyone's dreaming big, but they have nowhere to go as far as getting those assets from or out. So that's, yeah, I work with, like I said, I work with Pokey Pokey.
I would agree with that. As a small business owner, it's either it's hard to find those type of people,
Yeah.
or the people that are really heavy hitters here
Yeah.
are at a price range that some of us smaller businesses just simply can't afford.
reach, yeah.
Facts.
Because they've basically made it to the next level where they're working with brands that are, you know, well beyond anything in New Mexico.
Right.
You know, it's like, I'm sorry, but we don't have I can't pay somebody $30,000 to come up with a website design and a logo and a brand and all that kind of stuff for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's a huge like gap there.
Yeah. And I really enjoy filling that gap too, because I would say my main goal is to actually help people. That's where I get my kicks in this industry. I really enjoy, you know, people getting excited. I heard once too that like designers should feel very grateful in the fact that we're probably the best part of a business person's day. Besides crunching numbers and doing taxes and figuring out payroll and all this stuff, like then they get to sit down with you and design something beautiful.
Yeah, all that other
It's
stuff
fun.
sucks.
It's
Yeah.
the fun part.
You
It's
know,
the
and
tangible part.
like
it's the
working
pretty
with you is
part.
the fun part. Coming up with an identity and all that kind of stuff, or like new campaigns. That's always fun.
Yep.
The numbers suck.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And you know, it's a lot of fun taking a really big concept or a really big business and boiling it down to those legs that it stands on, and then cleverly and simply, you know, developing something that can represent that brand. I've noticed that my entire thought process goes in that direction now. So I'm always constantly taking giant ideas and just being like, well, that's only that, or that's only. For instance, I always say everything's a dopamine hit. Everything. Whether it's you like that taco, or you like that piece of artwork, or you like that watch, or you like that, it's all just a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Putting the watch on in the morning, you know, it's I don't know. It's dumbing down a very big idea, which I don't mean to do. I just like to take the golden nuggets out, if you will.
And like you said, you get excited about all projects, you know, big or small. And I think that speaks through your work, because we met like 3 years ago now through Dylan.
Yep.
And we approached you to do, you know, a cover art, and
Yep.
kind of might have initially just thought as, you know, one project, one thing with Kellogg projects, and the way that you take feedback or take ideas and then completely create your own, but make sure that you make the person feel special or whatever that project is huge. And I think that's huge here, because we're so relationship and community based, and you treat everybody like, you know, like family, and we didn't know you, and now obviously we're family. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, something I can really appreciate about your workflow is when we first met and we were talking about this project, it was you were asking enough questions and you got to know enough about the roots of what it is that we're doing that I didn't have to tell you, or I wasn't being asked to give you any kind of direction. It was, okay, let me take this and let me go see let me go come up with something. And I can appreciate that as a business owner, because there's often times that I've worked with other, you know, collaborative partners and stuff in our business where it feels like sometimes I'm running too much of the show. They're asking me for basically to tell them what I want so that they can go technically make it, you know. And what's different is that you're truly an artist that understands what our needs and wants are, and you come back and bring us something that I personally never could have come up with.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that I truly appreciate, because it's not always that way, having
Yeah.
worked with other creatives out there. And speaking of which, kind of tell us maybe a little bit about how you arrived at the I Choose Albuquerque design.
Sure.
Thought
You know,
process.
thought
design
process behind it.
Sure. Yeah, when I started, I was thinking, you know, this has to be big and bold and has to make a statement, and it has to be, you know, something that's eye-catching and people start asking questions about, but also kind of describes itself like any good logo should. I think everyone's trying to get a little busy. They think it's an art project when really it's representing. You know, no one has time to drive past a truck and go, like, no one's going to do that. They just see the symbol, they get it. And that's kind of what I wanted out of this logo. And I feel like the real reason we started this brand is to start the conversation about raising the bar in Albuquerque. What it takes to start a business here, or, you know, start a brand. I feel like that it's a whole mindset shift, like I said. But then when I started designing, and I really like the idea of speech bubbles and thought bubbles. I took a class in college, and it was an upper level English class, and I walked in the first day, and it ended up being specifically about comics, which I didn't know before. And I really, really enjoyed being able to express humanity through imagery. And I feel like speech bubbles are one of the best things to do that. And we're starting the conversation here in Albuquerque. So, and it just so happens that speech bubbles are the same shape as cues.
Yeah, yeah. It was
So, yeah.
yeah. As soon as I came across our group chat, I was like, "This is fucking genius."
Yeah, yeah.
It just looked amazing to me.
A lot of times when you're developing something, you have to kind of like write it out, draw it out. I always start on paper. I always start drawing first because there's so much freedom on paper. You know, you can erase, you can sketch over, just pencil in. There's something really innate about a pencil and paper. So that's where I always start. And then when you start drawing out letters, you're like, you know what, this looks like this looks like that. And you can really start to see the imagery within words or small symbols, or, you know, when you start combining things, it can get weird, but it's also a lot of fun. So that's kind of how that developed. And yeah, the 1706 design was just really organic. I just feel like it's a way to transcend the brand a little bit too, and kind of dive more into the idea of the city itself, because this is way, way bigger than us.
Yeah,
Right,
no question.
right.
We're just helping it along.
Right,
And-
we're just the spark.
Right.
You know, it's well beyond us in this room.
Agreed.
Um,
And it has to be.
and it has to be right. We're just kind of in a way I feel like we're almost just stewards of kind of the message in kind of creating this movement. You
Agreed.
know, it's exciting to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm very excited. And I think the more people that are involved, well, obviously, the more people that are involved, the better this brand will do, because it's supposed to be about the community.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with the community, because economics aren't shit without the community.
Right.
So,
Agreed. Yeah.
you know, that's where it has to start. Everyone has to agree. We have to do this well. It has to be culturally sound. We can't just change Albuquerque. Like, no one will agree with that.
Right.
And like you said, United did a great job of that. They
And-
took something that's so culturally sound, did it well, and allowed the city to wrap around it.
Right.
Which is exactly
They're
what you
just
should do
they're
with
just
any
highlighting
brand.
the city. They're
Right.
highlighting everything
Right.
that is
Right.
good and bringing people together to celebrate that, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's long overdue. Something like that is long, long overdue. People always talk about how we should have a football team.
No.
I think a soccer team was a way better decision, especially since the Dukes and then transition to the Isotopes. Like, we've had baseball here for a long time,
Right.
and I feel like the transition into soccer was probably the best thing we've ever done for the city.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I also feel like this excitement around United is sustainable. You know what I mean? I feel like people are going to be behind this in a way that maybe I just don't see it, but you know, the Isotopes, I don't really see sold out games.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, you don't
Yep.
see that almost
good
like
point.
just masses of people showing up for Isotopes game, or
Mhm.
maybe it's kind of lost its flair over the years, but it doesn't have that level of excitement. It doesn't have that energy, and I've never even been to a game, but I know this is true because I've seen it everywhere. You know what I mean? It's literally, it like flooded this city in this last year. I mean, it's all over everybody's cars. It's all over everybody's stories. It's all over everybody's posts. It's all like, you know, I'm at
people
the
are
park
excited about
yesterday,
it.
and like all these little girls practicing soccer are wearing United jerseys. Like, it
Absolutely.
was crazy to me,
Yeah.
and it happened. It seemed like it happened overnight.
It really did.
You know, it really did.
I went to that first game, and you would think that we've been a team for 20 years.
Yeah, you
I
think that's a
really
championship
die
game.
hard fans.
Do you think part of that excitement and new energy is because of the brand development and all of that stuff? It has to be a huge part of it.
Yeah, I think so. I think like I said, the community wraps around things that are done well. So if you can do something, and you know, the sponsorship with Meow Wolf did not hurt.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, that's
So, because that's already a cool brand, it's established. You know, it's got a great logo. It's one of those things that's like, it's eye catching, and it makes you think, and it's a conversation piece, and it's like, art and sports that's
Yeah,
so
that's what I was gonna
contrasting.
say.
But then when you put it together, it clicks like a puzzle piece. It's supposed to be together, and it's never been done, which is so weird. I think we took a lot of the culture, we took a lot of the things that were existing, and we pieced them together in the best possible way, and that's why the community wrapped around it so quickly. But yeah, I love it, and you know, it also doesn't hurt that we're good.
Yeah, that's true.
That we're winning. So
Yeah.
Making a push for the playoffs right now.
yes,
It's impressive.
yes.
So are those
First
maybe
year.
some brands you would like to work with in the future, or United, Meow Wolf, or what is your local or statewide, you know, kind of bucket list who you'd like to work with?
There's a few brands in town that are like that just do it well. Marble's a great one. Bosky is a great one. It's funny because you start thinking about it, and you're like, damn, there's a lot of these are beers. A lot
Yeah.
of these are breweries, you know.
Well, it's another thing that we've done well.
Yes.
You know, it's something that we've done very, very well, and it's picked up a lot of steam. The public, you know, has obviously spoken. You know, we're brew state.
Yeah. 47, 48, something like that. We have a ton of them.
Saturated, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great too because there's still tons of room if you want to do that. You know, I love. There's a few brands too that I'd really like to work with, like Bloom Fiesta, for instance. It's kind of one of those things I grew up with. I love that. You know, it seems to be a staple too, an international staple as far as a reason to come here. Yeah, I guess I don't really think ahead as far as brands because whoever contacts me, like that's who I'm focused on at the moment.
That's
And
awesome.
I feel like that's really important to stay present all the time, especially when you're dealing with something as sensitive as branding. It's not like we're just designing a t-shirt. Like these are the legs that an entire brand will stand on. And that's not nothing. It's a very, very big deal.
That's huge. It's a staple of the company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it has to be, you know, catered to in that fashion. So, yeah.
So, if you had like a ideal vision of what Albuquerque becomes in the next 5 to maybe 10 years, what does that kind of look like? And in your opinion, how do we get there?
Young people, creatives. I've noticed that everyone about my age, I would say people from like 20 to like 35-ish, we're all
I'm so glad I'm
having
in there. I was so scared for a second there.
we're all having the same conversation.
Oh.
Like I have the same conversation with a different person every day. And it doesn't really matter, you know, it could be someone who runs a youth group, could be someone who's a singer or a rapper or a real estate agent or a loan officer, a creative, anything. We're all having the same conversation about raising the bar and pursuing our goals. So I feel like a lot of people have a lot of goals like up here, and this is going to be the era where people are actually taking advantage of this like market shift. So if you want to start something, you know, now's the time. There's this critical mass of like, you know, once we get over this hump, I feel like it's going to be all downhill because there's a lot of people with a lot of great ideas.
Yeah, those big ideas are finally coming to
Yeah.
actions.
Exactly. I feel like that's true for a lot of things.
Well, I think also the people with these ideas feel like they have enough confidence in like I guess the economic climate here and our city and the people in it to actually start to, you know, plant roots and try to build those businesses or build those, you know, communities and that kind of stuff. I feel like things have kind of taken a little bit of a shift where the perception is that, you know what, maybe right now is the time. Maybe right now I can. Maybe right now it is possible, kind of thing. Or at least that's kind of how it's always felt for me in the last 5 to 8 years or so.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I'd love to see all these things come to fruition. Like I said, the more people involved with this project and this mindset, the better Albuquerque is going to be. And I've noticed that people our age are finally starting to come into a little bit of money, so these goals are actually tangible. And yeah, everyone's investing, everyone's doing it, everyone's, you know, buying a house, planting roots, and starting a business, and trying to make this a better place from their perspective. And I feel like that's the most important thing. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely. Kellogg, you want to sign off with Kellogg Project, something nice, or what can we excited from Kellogg's projects in the near future?
Well, like I said, yeah, anyone who hits me up and wants to work, I'm very
Very
attentive.
reachable, and you're very reachable.
Yeah, and I'm very reachable too. Yeah, and I just like I said, I try to take it a day at a time. Try not to get ahead of myself. I've got a lot of things, in front of me at the moment, and I feel like that's what deserves my focus. So I always, kind of stay in that realm, kind of present. But yeah, you can expect me to be doing my best and constantly doing the best work that I can. I really want to make sure that I'm representing these companies and people that I work with, artists and what have you, to the best of my ability.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being a partner on the project.
Absolutely.
Huge partner.
Absolutely. It's been a lot of fun, and I can't wait to, help set that example for young people to go after it, to become part of this. So.
Well said.
There you have
Thank
it.
you, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being part of the conversation. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at I Choose Albuquerque.